At a staff meeting, my boss made me kneel and apologize in front of 47 coworkers for questioning his cuts. Then legal whispered, "Wait, aren't you?" His hands started shaking. I was his boss's boss. I took everything from him, in front of the board. "Get on your knees and apologize to everyone," my boss growled, his voice slicing through the stunned silence of the open office in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. He wasn't just trying to discipline me. No, he was putting on a show. 47 of my coworkers froze mid-task. All eyes were on me. I had dared to ask why we were gutting mental health benefits while building a luxury lounge for executives. And now, this. "Now," Bryce barked again, his finger stabbing toward the middle of the room. His voice rose like he was on a stage. I walked forward slowly, the sound of my heels echoing on the polished concrete floor. My heart pounded in my ears. It felt like walking to an execution. As I knelt on the rough carpet, every eye watched. Most pretended to look away, but not all. Some enjoyed it. "This is what happens when someone junior forgets their place," Bryce smirked, adjusting his tie like a smug game show host. I opened my mouth to speak but was interrupted. "Wait," a voice whispered from the back. Heads turned. It was Nadine from legal. She stepped forward, squinting at me. "Aren't you?" Bryce's head snapped toward her. "Is there a problem?" he demanded, his voice tight. She blinked, then quickly stepped back. "No, sorry, my mistake." But the damage was done. A tremor ran through Bryce's hand. His jaw clenched. I stood up slowly, still trembling, but I had made a decision. "This meeting is over," I said firmly. "Everyone who isn't on executive leadership, please leave the room." At first, no one moved. "Now," I repeated. One by one, people filed out, confused and whispering. "What do you think you're doing?" Bryce hissed. I looked him dead in the eye. "Reminding you who really has power here," he laughed. "You're delusional." "No, I'm Maren Whitaker. Eleanor Whitaker's granddaughter, and I own 31% of this company." His smirk vanished. His face turned ghost white. "Hey there, if this shocked you, trust me, it only gets better. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments the worst thing a boss ever did to you. Let's keep going, because Bryce is about to learn who he messed with." 6 months ago, after my grandmother passed away, I got a letter. Not a normal will. She left me control of her shares in the company under one condition. I had to work there under a fake name from the bottom up and see it for myself. So I did. I became Maren Reeves in the marketing department, and what I saw, toxicity, fear. A kingdom ruled by Bryce Kavanaugh, the worst kind of middle manager. The kind who crushed innovation and humiliated people for sport. And today, he tried it on me. But now he would pay. Minutes later, the executive board arrived. 9 men and women in tailored suits, confused why they'd been summoned to a conference room. "I believe it's time you met me properly," I said, removing my glasses and letting down my tightly pinned hair. Gasps, silence, confusion. "Miss Whitaker," gasped CEO Leonard Huxley, eyes wide. "You've been working here." "For 6 months," I replied. "My grandmother wanted me to understand the culture before making decisions about my controlling interest." Bryce sank into a chair, visibly unraveling. What followed was a bloodletting in slow motion. I presented months of documented abuse, evidence of employees driven out, talent wasted, and market position eroded by Bryce's reign of fear. But I wasn't there to fire him. Not yet. I made him stay and assigned him to a new project. A case study documenting every toxic leadership decision he'd made, under my direct supervision. His office moved to the cubicle right next to mine. He hated it. But he did the work, or so it seemed. Then came the twist. 3 months in, a whistleblower named Elise, an engineer whose ideas Bryce had buried, walked into my office and dropped a flash drive on my desk. "You need to see this," she said. Emails, plans, messages between Bryce and Leonard, plotting how to contain me, discredit the changes, and retake control of the board. They'd never changed. They were just waiting. The emails ended with this. "She thinks she's winning. Let her. When the time comes, we'll show the board she's failed, and she'll hand the company back over." They thought I was naive. They were about to find out just how wrong they were. For the next 5 days, I played dumb. I smiled through meetings. I praised Bryce's workshops. I even let Leonard think his adjustments to my board presentation were going through. All the while, I was documenting everything. Elise became my most trusted ally. So did Isla, a quiet genius from accounting, and Nadine from legal, who had recognized me that day not just because of a meeting, but because she had seen my name on internal governance documents years earlier. Together, we worked after hours, like ghosts moving through the building. We weren't just collecting stories. We were tracking money, approval chains, and cover-ups. And what Isla uncovered chilled me. They've been siphoning bonuses from department budgets, she whispered one night, eyes wide behind her screen. All the budget cuts, they went straight into executive performance pools, including Leonard's. How long? 3 years, maybe more. It was worse than I thought. Meanwhile, Bryce had the gall to keep reporting to me like he was reformed. The culture workshop yesterday was incredible, he said, sliding yet another feedback form across my desk. All positive responses again? I asked, glancing over the identical handwriting. How lucky, he grinned. People are finally buying in. I forced a smile. Perfect. Let's make sure the board hears all about it. He had no idea. Behind the scenes, Elise and I had prepared 2 presentations. The one Bryce thought he'd sabotaged, and the real one. We cross-referenced every toxic decision with lost revenue, documented manipulation tactics, even compared wellness surveys to revenue losses. And then we found it. A line item buried deep in the last fiscal report. Special Project Discretionary Fund, $2.4 million, a slush fund. Used at Leonard's sole discretion, no oversight. It's a golden parachute, Isla whispered. He's planning to tank the board vote, take the money, and walk. I looked at the numbers and realized he thought this was his exit. He'd use Bryce as a scapegoat, let the company collapse, and retire with a beach house in Belize. No, I said, backing away from the screen. He doesn't get to walk away clean. The night before the board vote, I barely slept. I sat on my grandmother's old armchair in my apartment, clutching her last letter to me. Power used wisely doesn't crush. It reveals. When people show you who they are, don't flinch. Don't blink. Just let the light stay on them. At 6:45 a.m. sharp, I walked into the executive conference room. Leonard and Bryce were already there, looking smug. Morning, Marin, Leonard smiled, tapping a thick stack of papers. We've finalized the presentation. Minor adjustments, of course. Bryce pushed the sanitized executive summary toward me. It erased my work, repackaged it as their vision, and stripped me from the narrative entirely. All agreed? Bryce asked. I stared at them for a moment, then smiled. Of course, let's give the board the full picture. The boardroom was glass-walled and cold, even with the sun streaming over Asheville's mountain skyline. Leonard opened with his usual preamble. Today, we discuss the impact of our cultural transformation, guided by our new colleague, Miss Whittaker. He looked proud. Too proud. Whose involvement, while unorthodox, has proven quite insightful. Bryce, please take us through the changes. Bryce stood, beaming, but I stood first. If I may, I said, moving to the screen. Leonard frowned. We agreed. There was no agreement, I said, plugging in my own drive. What's this? Asked Harris, a gruff board member who rarely spoke. The truth. What came next changed everything. I presented the real numbers, the mass resignations, the staff who filed complaints and were retaliated against. I displayed the anonymous reporting system that leaked names. I showed the slush fund and the reallocated budgets. Then I dropped the bomb, a hidden email chain between Bryce and Leonard, plotting to discredit me, sabotage the board vote, and sell the company within 6 months. Complete with timestamps, meeting notes, and their backup plan to blame it all on rookie leadership. The board sat in stunned silence. None of this was supposed to come out, Leonard stammered. This is a misrepresentation. Actually, Nadine said from the corner, as corporate counsel, I verified every document. Bryce didn't speak. He just stood and walked to the front of the room beside me. I have something to say, he said quietly. Leonard's head whipped around. Don't, Bryce ignored him. Everything Marin just showed you is real. I was complicit. I thought I was protecting the company's toughness. But I was protecting my own ego. And when she challenged me, I tried to destroy her. He turned to me. She was supposed to lose, but she didn't. And that's when I remembered why I got into leadership to begin with. Not for this. He pulled out a flash drive and set it on the table. My entire history, every directive I followed, every manipulation I helped write. Leonard shot up, face flushed. You're both insane. This is a circus. No, Harris said quietly, reviewing the documents. "This is accountability." Silence blanketed the boardroom like a burial shroud. Bryce's confession hung in the air, heavier than the city's skyline pressing through the glass windows. Leonard didn't sit. He couldn't. He was pacing now, his cool CEO facade gone, replaced with a cornered man's panic. "You're throwing away decades of work," he snapped at Bryce. "Everything we built." "What you built," Bryce corrected, his voice calm. "I just enforced it." The board members flipped through folders Nadine had passed around, some with trembling hands. Inside were not just documents, but affidavits, sworn statements from employees past and present, outlining the exact damage Leonard's reign had caused. Loss of innovation, legal exposure, and worst of all, irreparable brand damage now seeping into public channels. One board member, a sharp-eyed woman named Teresa, closed her folder and looked straight at me. "Miss Whittaker, what exactly are you asking for?" I didn't hesitate. Full removal of Leonard Huxley as CEO, termination of any retirement or severance payout, immediate restructure of the executive compensation package, independent oversight of all leadership training going forward, and a public apology from the board because this culture didn't appear overnight, Leonard scoffed. "You don't have that authority." "I do," I said, slowly rising. "As majority stakeholder now," he blinked. "What?" "I bought an additional 5% of stock last quarter through 3 separate shells. Your finance officer signed off on it himself." I turned to Isla in the corner, who gave the slightest nod. She had planted the exact paperwork Leonard's team ignored. I leaned forward and placed a stamped document on the center of the table. "Effective today, I control 36% of Whittaker and Lorne Holdings. More than any other party, more than you," Leonard paled. Teresa cleared her throat. "I motion to call a vote for immediate removal." Harris raised his hand second. The vote was swift, 7 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstained. Leonard dropped into his seat like his spine had been cut. "You can't do this," he whispered. "I built this company, I bled for it." "No," I said quietly. "You bled it, you gutted its soul for profit. My grandmother built it. I'm just here to bring it back." When the meeting ended, Bryce lingered behind while the others filed out. "I didn't expect you to win," he admitted. Leonard had every board member eating out of his hand. "I didn't win," I said. "The truth did," he nodded once. "I meant what I said, I want to fix what I broke." "Then prove it," I replied. "You'll start by conducting anti-toxicity training for executives." His mouth twitched. "Poetic." "Also," I added, "you'll be giving back your bonus from last quarter, in full, reallocated to the wellness program you helped dismantle." His smile vanished, but he didn't argue. He nodded. "Consider it done." But the drama wasn't over. Because that night, Elise showed up at my apartment with a flash drive and tears in her eyes. "I wasn't going to show you this," she said. "I thought maybe he changed." It was a video from 2 weeks earlier, a secret dinner. Bryce, Leonard, and 2 of the board members who had voted against his removal, discussing a backup plan. "If it goes sideways," Bryce had said, "we let her take over, let her get comfortable. Then we expose her lack of experience. Sink her from the inside. Make her beg us to come back," Leonard added, laughing over a glass of scotch. My blood went ice cold. He had planned it, all of it, even the apology, even the speech. It was all theater. The next morning, Bryce arrived at the office looking hopeful. "I've already drafted the new training module," he said, placing a binder on my desk. I didn't look at it. Instead, I turned my monitor toward him and hit play. The footage rolled, his face drained. "You planted someone?" he asked, voice cracking. "No," I said. "You gave the flash drive to the wrong person. Elise was never on your side." He sank into the chair opposite me, defeated. "I had to try," he whispered. "It's what I do. And it's why you're done here." He opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. "You can walk out with your head high, or security can escort you in front of the entire staff." His jaw clenched. Then finally he stood. No argument, no defense, just a small, hollow nod. "I never stood a chance against you, did I?" I stood too. "No, Bryce, not once you gave me a reason." Bryce left the building quietly. No shouting, no outburst, just silence. But I knew better, men like Bryce didn't go quietly. They plotted, they waited. 3 days passed. Then the leak hit. A blog post published anonymously titled, "Whittaker's Heiress Hijack. The Fall of a Legacy." It painted me as a manipulative plant. claimed I faked my qualifications, accused me of forcing out-seasoned leaders to seize power I didn't earn. It was laced with dog whistles, ageism, sexism, nepotism. But the part that made my stomach turn? The final paragraph. It's only a matter of time before the board realizes its mistake, and when they do, those who remain loyal to Bryce Kavanaugh will be waiting to rebuild what she tore apart. He still had loyalists. He was still trying to burn the house down from the outside. And worse, some people believed it. Whispers in the office grew louder. Anonymous comments on the company's Slack. A few employees even sent emails asking for clarification on leadership legitimacy. It was working. Bryce's ghost was poisoning the well. I knew I needed to kill the lie, not with a rebuttal, not with a press release. With a truth bomb that couldn't be denied. The next morning, I walked into the main office at 9 a.m. sharp, holding a red envelope. I tapped the edge of my mug, calling for attention. I'd like everyone's eyes for 60 seconds. One by one, heads lifted, conversations died down. "This," I said, holding up the red envelope, "is a sealed letter my grandmother wrote the month before she passed." I placed it on the breakroom counter. She instructed it not be opened unless her succession was ever challenged. Guess what? It's time. I opened the letter. Inside was a video drive and a notarized document. I projected the video onto the main conference screen. It was a leaner, sharp-eyed, elegant, and unapologetically direct. "If you're watching this," she began, "someone is trying to twist my legacy. So let me be clear, Marin Whitaker is my chosen successor. She is not just qualified, she is better than me in ways I never was. If she is being opposed, then you are being lied to. If she's being sabotaged, then my company is under attack. And if anyone in leadership, past or present, is part of this sabotage, you will be removed. No appeals, no golden parachutes. I built this company to serve people. If you stand in her way, you are standing in mine." The room was silent. Even the usual critics didn't blink. No one spoke. No one moved. Eleanor had spoken from the grave, and she'd buried every one of Bryce's lies with her words. The blog post, discredited by noon. Anonymous supporters of Bryce. Outed through internal audits Nadine had quietly initiated weeks earlier. A few were let go. Most were put on performance review. Bryce's final smear attempt had collapsed under the weight of my grandmother's legacy, and the truth I had gathered, piece by piece. But I wasn't finished. 1 week later, we held a town hall livestream. Every employee across the country tuned in. I took the stage alone. "I'm not your CEO," I began. "Not yet," gasps, murmurs. "I'm your steward. Of something greater than just numbers and margins." This company had lost its way. Not just from Bryce or Leonard, but from a culture that rewarded silence and punished care. "But we're done with that now," I announced. A new employee council with real authority, reinstatement of the mental health programs, back pay bonuses to those wrongfully terminated, a mentorship program led by survivors of Bryce's regime, and last. The corner office where Bryce once ruled, it's now a mindfulness room. Take a break, sit in silence, heal, you've earned it. The company press picked it up the next day. The headline read, "Heiress turns tyrants thrown into meditation space. Whitaker and Lorne's unthinkable reboot." Bryce, he moved to Tampa, tried to start a leadership consulting firm. It folded within a month. No one wanted advice from the man who became the face of corporate cruelty. Leonard. He disappeared. Rumors say he's hiding in a villa in Portugal, but no one answers when reporters knock. As for me, I walk the halls now not as royalty, but as proof that revenge isn't about rage, it's about restoration. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it walks in heels, and sometimes it kneels just long enough to rise higher than anyone expected. Thanks for sticking around for this wild story. If you've ever had a nightmare boss like Bryce, drop their worst moment in the comments. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories like this. Remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction.